Good evening, everybody. Welcome into an all-new edition of the Milford Informer. I am your host, Tim Coet. From 60 to 70 degree weather in February to a foot of snow just days before the start of spring, such is the life here in New England. As we try to divert our attention from the less than ideal conditions outside, we've got a couple of significant news items to bring to you tonight. As always, let's begin by showing you this week's top stories rundown. Tonight, get a sneak preview of the MHS Theater Workshop production of Guys and Dolls, taking place this weekend over at the high school auditorium. Also tonight, we'll show you some of what took place at this week's Town Crier and Milford TV-sponsored Selectmen Candidates Forum. And later, we'll recap some of this week's contentious budget meeting between the school committee and the finance committee. As we speak, Milford High School's Theater Workshop is in the midst of opening night for their latest musical production. This year, the Theater Workshop tackled one of the most beloved musical comedies from Broadway's golden age. With 2 more opportunities to see the show coming up over the weekend, let's give you a sneak peek at the MHS Theater Workshop production of Guys and Dolls.
Luck be a lady tonight. Luck be a lady tonight.
The Milford High School Theater Workshop spring musical this year is Guys and Dolls, which is a Broadway classic. The show is going to be March 17th and 18th at 7 p.m. and Sunday at 2 p.m., Sunday the 19th. And Guys and Dolls is just one of those completely classic Broadway shows. It's a Broadway comedy with great music, a lot of humor. It's set in New York City in the early 1950s, and it's about a group of New York gamblers and the ladies in their lives. And it has lots of famous songs, including Luck Be a Lady, Sit Down, You're Rocking the Boat, lots of music that's made it into popular culture as well as Broadway culture. And it was made into a movie with Marlon Brando and Frank Sinatra. It was really great to do a modern show that was really relatable to audiences in one way. And then, yes, Pippin, much more of a kind of existential piece. And yeah, now to just do a pure, straight up musical Broadway comedy in the old school style has been a fun challenge, both for the acting and singing as well as dancing in a more traditional style, and just the costumes and the general look of that classic kind of golden era of Broadway and Hollywood as well.
I play General Matilda Cartwright. She comes in halfway through the show and she kind of drives the plot along because she tells Sarah, who's in charge of the local mission, that that they're not getting enough people in, so they're going to have to close the mission, which is what really makes Sarah decide to go to Havana with Sky so that she can get the gamblers to come in.
2 of the main characters are Sky Masterson, a gambler, and Miss Sarah Brown, who is a Salvation Army missionary. So you've got the gambler and the religious gal kind of getting mixed up together to hilarious effect, as you can imagine. And they're actually played by John Probert and Eilat Tabak, who are George and Emily Webb in Our Town in the fall. So another romance for them on stage this year. And then our other 2 leads, the other couple in the show, Nathan Detroit and Miss Adelaide, actually played by 2 of our younger students. Erin, who's playing Adelaide, she's a freshman, and so it's been awesome to see her get a chance to really dive in and tackle a role, especially as someone younger. You know, younger students don't always get that chance, but she just perfectly encapsulated the role on stage at auditions, and it's been really funny to see the comic relationship between Nathan and Adelaide develop. You kind of have Sky and Sarah as the more serious romance, and Nathan and Adelaide as the comic relief, and to see them play off each other and really develop their character voices and the relationship dynamic has been really fun.
Nathan Detroit, he is a crap shooter, of course, and he's like the main guy who sets up the crap game, and he's married to Adelaide, who is basically a stripper at the Hot Box. My character is like a short person, and then Adelaide, the character Erin, who plays Adelaide, is very tall, so it's going to be kind of funny to see the height difference there. My favorite song is Sue Me. because it's just me and Adelaide, and it's a big fight scene, and there's just one moment where me and her just scream at each other, and I love it so much. It's a lot of fun.
Big broad characters is exactly the way to put it. You know, we're talking New York gangsters, you know, so that we keep saying the accent can be as big as you want. You know, the comedy is broad, and the script and the comedy is written in that old school sort of rat-a-tat style with jokes and insults and puns and kind of almost in the vaudeville tradition almost. So it's been fun to see them adjust to that style, which again is quite different from Pippin or Legally Blonde a few years ago, which were funny, had their moments, but just weren't in that old rat-a-tat rhythm.
Big Julie is this mobster from Chicago who comes to play dice with the other people, and he's a bit of a threat to the other characters because it's mentioned that he silenced a few people who bugged him. It's pretty fun. I like the 50s style dance and music, and I like doing this kind of character because I was Marley before, and then in our town I was a dad, and now this time I get to be like this mean mobster, so it's pretty fun.
The gangster hats and the suits and the loud jackets, and there's also a group of showgirls in this show, so we're having fun with lots of sequins and boas, and that's interesting too. We haven't had kind of a more traditional dance ensemble in the past. So yeah, being able to dive into a real period piece is fun, and to see the kids come alive even more once they've got that hat on or that boa, that sparkly dress, you know, that's a lot of fun too.
We all love it. We all love it. Bringing back like very fun songs, and I think we all have a great time, and we all look forward to coming to rehearsal every day.
My first show was Twelfth Night, which was Shakespeare, and I was a freshman, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do theater or not, but I decided to give it a go. So I auditioned, and I was put in the ensemble with all the other freshmen, but it was fine, and we had a great time. And then I just kept auditioning, and I just kept being parts of the show, and it's really fun. You meet a lot of people, and it's just, I love it a lot.
For the people all set, sit down, you're rocking the boat. People all set, sit down, you're rocking the boat.
Big showstopper in Act 2 is Sit Down, You're Rockin' the Boat, which is a great dance number. That's a really popular song, which has been running on repeat in my head for months, and I'm not sick of it yet, so that's good. So that one's gonna be a lot of fun. And we have another younger student, Tadiwa, playing that role of Nicely Johnson. And again, it's been great to see these younger kids finally have a chance to shine.
I think the best song in the show is Sit Down, You're Rockin' the Boat. I think it's one where both the cast and the audience can like really get into. There are just so many good moments in it, it's hard to pick just one.
All in all, it's just regarded as one of the greatest and most well-written shows in Broadway. It's actually been called the perfect musical comedy, so we're really looking forward to bringing all that wonderful material to the Milford audience.
While it certainly does not look like spring outside, Milford's Springtown elections are rapidly approaching. With Election Day slated for April 4th, voters had an opportunity to get to know more about the candidates vying for the 2 open spots on Milford's Board of Selectmen, as Milford TV along with the town crier hosted a candidates forum this past Wednesday. The forum was broadcast live from Upper Town Hall. If you missed out on the live coverage, here is a recap of what took place.
What do you see as the 3 largest challenges Milford faces, and how would you address them?
If we could fast forward 5 years from today or 7 years from today, how would we like to see Milford? First of all of us in the Milford community suffer daily with awful traffic congestion. As your selectman, I would work vigorously and tirelessly on finding ways to relieve the traffic congestion which just so bothers the quality of life here in Milford.
To me, my concern with stormwater management, and I spoke about this on the shows, is that if you remember years ago when all the gas stations became dirty and the EPA stepped in and all this dirt was dug up from underground and was sent all the way to Tonawanda, New York for billions and billions of dollars. And then eventually somebody figured out that you could pull that dirt out of the ground, place it on the side of the station, cover it with plastic, and periodically turn it over with a backhoe, because gasoline evaporates from dirt. So billions of dollars were spent that were not necessarily needed to be spent. And I fear the same thing. The concerns me about the EPA is an agency that really doesn't answer to anybody. Okay, so they come into the town of Franklin, town of Bellingham, the town of Milford, they force us into stormwater management. I'm just nervous that 10 years down the road, the same thing's going to happen after the town of Milford spent all that money.
One of the other big issues, of course, is the negotiations with the Milford Water Company. You know, much of that has been private. I haven't heard enough details of how this will be implemented if it's purchased. I haven't heard answers to a lot of the questions that we all have, such as how will the operations and management be done? Will we have an elected board? Will we have an appointed board of water commissioners? Will we ultimately create a DPW department? I think those are all issues that need to be ironed out.
Then I would talk about economic development. We haven't been in a position with our economy in the last few years, or the last 8 or 10 years, to incentivize many businesses. But what you look at, when you look at Leoch Realty, when you look at the dental building on Main Street, when you look at some of the other businesses, it's starting to come back, and it's starting to come back in large part because of the economy. What I'd like to do is steer some of that so we get some of the right businesses, we incentivize the right businesses, and help that economic ability, that economic engine within the town who are going to do the hiring and are going to employ people.
You currently serve on Milford School Committee, and you also hold leadership positions on the Milford Youth Commission and Milford Catholic Elementary. If elected to the Board of Selectmen, do you feel you will have the necessary time to devote to each of these time-consuming positions as well as the Board of Selectmen?
Well, to address the first question, as I always had stated, from the very beginning, I said if I was lucky enough to get elected to the Milford School Committee, I would like to serve 9 years. I committed to the people of the town of Milford to do that, and my plan right now is I have 1 more year after this election. There'll be a change of leadership, and my plan is, unless something changes, to stay and finish my last year at the school committee, which will give me 9 years. My role at the Milford Youth Center, I will resign from that position, because as selectmen, as you know, you become the appointing authority for anybody going on to the Milford Youth Commission. So I will be stepping down from that position as well. And to answer the question, you know, serving on the board at Milford Catholic is a very small part-time thing that I've done for many, many years. So to answer the question, I would be stepping down off of the Milford Youth Center, and I do feel that I do have the time and the stamina to serve on the other committees.
Yes. Can you briefly describe some of the accomplishments you've made within the Milford community and what specific role you played in those accomplishments?
Thank you very much. Well, I think the obvious answer would be the 2.5 years' work that I did organizing our community to bring public transportation to Milford, to bring the pilot program to organize everyone, as well as to visit with all 13 clergy and hold 3 open forums. But while I think that that was a great accomplishment, the one that I am actually most proud of was working with the Milford Regional Medical Center on improving the accessibility for persons with disabilities and for our seniors. For far too long, our hospital has been in need of those improvements, and with the help of the hospital personnel and others, we were able to work together to find a way to make substantial improvements so that our hospital is now much more easily accessible to our seniors.
How do you plan to navigate the ethical conflicts between being a school committee member, the building commissioner, and a selectman? And moreover, do you see it an issue running to be, in effect, your own boss as the appointing authority of the building commissioner?
Well, that's a question that's been asked to me already by a number of people. And it's not a quick answer, but to the first part, if I was elected to be your next selectman, I would resign as a sitting school committee member. And then you have the issue of, can you be the building commissioner and can you be the selectman at the same time? If I'm elected and if I choose to remain as the building commissioner, I'd report to a board of 2. That's really the only difference. The town administrator is not a town manager. He is not my boss. He is not my appointing authority. I deal with the town administrator for administrative purposes only. And I guess the last piece of this is, if I'm elected as selectman, I will strongly consider whether or not I want to remain in the role as building commissioner. And that's something I haven't determined yet. And if I'm successful, I'll take a few months, and then I'll evaluate whether I want to continue as the building commissioner.
There seems to have been a rift between the school and the town regarding the management of IT, leading to the two IT departments being split. Do you believe that split is the best course of action for the long term, and if so, why?
I think it's the best course of action, certainly for the short term. It wasn't a department that was functioning in both of the spaces at the school system and in town hall. And I want to just remind people, when I say town hall, our current IT department helps with the library. It helps with the highway barn. It helps with various buildings and the senior center, youth center. So when I say town hall, I'm talking about more than just the physical space and building. No, it wasn't something that was working, and frankly, it was a revolving door. We wanted to make sure that when we created the town side of the IT department, that it could function, meet its core mission, and not have all of the same challenges that a school department has. They're unique in the sense that by statute they control their own budget, their own organizational structure, and I think they wanted to go in a different direction as well. That was clear from the superintendent of schools. I was comfortable with that because the model that we had wasn't working, and to follow that model further wouldn't have made a lot of sense, and it would have frankly cost the taxpayer a lot more money.
Earlier this week, the school committee met with the finance subcommittee to discuss the school's fiscal year 2018 budget. The meeting lasted nearly 2 hours and had its share of contentious moments. Let's look in on some of the conversation.
So the Milford Public Schools is proposing a 4.9% increase for fiscal year 2017-18. A budget that reflects level service will allow us to focus on our strategic goals of growth-focused instruction, learning and assessment, social emotional learning, continuous learning for all of our stakeholders, and equity and access. We would like the Finance Committee to continue to support the Milford Public Schools budget and to ensure every Milford student has access to a high-quality public education that prepares them for future success in college and careers.
What we normally do in the Finance Committee when we go through annual budgets is we typically go through the department and take out one-time ads for the previous year. So you start whatever your number was minus those ads, because we don't want to continue to bring those forward. Your actual level service budget starting point should be $42,399,314.
About $1.6 million.
Right, about 1.6 million. And so if we start there and go to here, where do we play? I mean, I don't know how to deal with that. So if you reduce your 4.9% by 1.6 million, you're at 44,700,000. That's what the Finance Committee would like to recommend.
So, your rationale makes some sense to a point, right? So Kevin just went through some data with you that shows the per pupil spending, right? And when we look at it as an absolute number, as Kevin pointed out, right now we're about a little over $6 million below the state average in spending. Okay. If we look at the 2016 number that was just released, it wasn't in Kevin's data, but we're at about 7.1 million below the state average. Mm-hmm. So now, if you want to take another 1.6 away from that, we're at about 8.7 million below the state average. So when we have an opportunity, when some of these one-time expenses, we carry them over, we're not carrying them over just for the sake of carrying them over. We're carrying them over to try and close the gap on funding.
I have a hard time, Joe, going to town meeting with a 4.9% increase when everybody else is doing it too. I've had this problem from day one with the school department. The school department has, except for 1 year where they got cut by almost $1.5 million, has never ever come in at a reasonable number that all the other departments have.
How many police stations are in this town?
1.
How many school buildings are in this town?
5.
7.
6.
Counting Shining Star. How many employees are on the police department?
Right.
Just throw the number, it's 50.
But
Hear me out. How many employees are in the school district? Almost a total of 700. So how can you compare those departments? And I understand you have over the years always been very gracious, okay? But you can't compare the school district to the police department, to the fire department, to the highway department, because it's a lot easier for them to come into that number, okay? Because they're not dealing with the huge, issues and problems and concerns and the educational factors that we are.
Going to a $43,247,000 and $300.28 budget, I mean, that's, for us as a school department, again, I think we're all on the same page. We want to move education forward. We want to make sure that we make it a better place to educate your children in the town of Milford. Moving to a budget at that number, if what you're asking us to do is to go through the exercise, to be able to understand what that impact would be on Milford Public Schools, we can certainly sit there and we can do that. We can go back to the drawing board and do that. I would tell you, having been through this as much as anyone here with the exception of Mike, it will borderline on devastation.
So from the perspective of someone working in a school, right now these teachers are getting ready for MCAS. And I'm sorry that budget and MCAS and all these things conflict at the same time. But the minute this exercise gets done, and we start listing this position, this position, this position, the only thing that's going to be going on in the Milford Public Schools is everybody sitting and scrambling about their job, worrying about next year, and getting their resumes out there. And I'm not sure to what end. I don't understand the purpose of that exercise other than to show this a picture of doom and gloom.
Coming up on Saturday, our good friends over at the Crossroads Clubhouse will be renewing an annual spring tradition as they hold their St. Patrick's Day pancake breakfast. It will be a morning filled with your favorite breakfast staples in a festive holiday environment. The St. Patrick's Day pancake breakfast is being held on Sunday, March 19th at the Crossroads Clubhouse on 11 William Street in Hopedale from 8:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The cost for admission is $10 for adults and $5 for clubhouse members and children under 12. There will also be raffle prizes drawn over the course of the breakfast. To purchase advance tickets and raffle tickets, you can call 508-473-4715. On Monday, the Ruth Ann Bleakney Senior Center will be hosting a 2017 Candidate Forum. Candidates from the various races on Milford's April 4th ballot will be on hand to answer questions from the audience. This will be one of the final opportunities for residents to hear from the candidates before Election Day. The Candidate Forum will take place on Monday, March 20th at the Senior Center beginning at 10 a.m. All Milford residents are welcome to attend. For more information, you can call 508-473-8334. And coming up on Thursday, the Friends of the Milford Town Library will be hosting a musical performance titled The Moonlighters, an Evening of Celtic Music. The Moonlighters are a vibrant traditional group that focuses on the music of the southwest of Ireland. Their performance will take place at the Town Library on Thursday, March 23rd, beginning at 7 p.m. The concert is free and is open to the public. That is all we have for you this week. Coming up on next week's show, we'll continue to give you a chance to hear from the candidates in the contested races on this April's ballot as we recap the Citizens for Milford-sponsored Candidate Forum and the Senior Center Candidate Forum. We also hope to bring you a little taste of spring with one of our spring sports previews. We hope you will join us again next time. Until then, from all of us here at Milford TV, this is Tim Coet saying have a great week. So long, everybody.